The room was dark and cold. Strange lights flickered on the metal walls. Voices echoed, loud, greedy, excited. This was the Zarkon auction hall, where people were sold like things. Dozens of alien buyers sat in rows, watching the stage. Some had sharp teeth, others had glowing eyes. All of them looked hungry, not for food, but for power, control, and pleasure. A metal gate opened, chains dragged on the floor. A young alien girl was pushed forward. Her name was Zira. She looked about 16 in human years. Her skin was pale purple, with soft lines, glowing near her temples. Her eyes, large and silver, were full of fear. Her arms had bruises. Her clothes were torn. She tried to stand straight, but her body trembled. The announcer, a fat alien with yellow skin and 4 arms, stepped forward. Next item, HFY, female, rare genetics. Young, flexible, and untouched, he shouted. The crowd laughed. Some leaned forward. Others whispered what they would do to her. Zira looked at the floor. She had learned not to fight. If she did, she would be hurt again. She had been sold before, 3 times. Each time the pain got worse. The announcer smiled. With his sharp teeth, starting bid, 1,000 credits, 1,200. Shouted a red-skinned alien 1,5, yelled another dot. The numbers rose fast. Zira closed her eyes. Then suddenly, a voice cut through the noise. 5,000 credits. Everyone turned. The voice came from the back of the hall. Man stepped forward. A human. He wore a long black coat, dusty from travel. A metal gun hung on his side. His face had scars. His eyes were cold, sharp, and serious. His name was Cole. The announcer blinked. 5,000. For a toy, human. Cole walked slowly toward the stage. Not a toy, he said. I'm buying her for freedom. The crowd laughed. One tall alien stood and pointed. She's not worth it. She's broken. Cole didn't answer. He climbed onto the stage, standing between Zira and the buyers. Zira looked up, confused. She had never seen a human here, and no one had ever stood in front of her like that. The announcer frowned. Is this some kind of joke? We don't do rescue missions here. Cole pulled out his weapon. Calm, steady. He looked at the crowd and said in a low, strong voice, no one touches her. Not now. Not ever. Unless she wants it. Silence. Even the buyers stopped breathing for a moment. The announcer raised his hands. All right, she's yours. Take her. But don't cry when she runs. Cole looked at Zero. Can you walk? She nodded slowly. Unsure, he reached down and unlocked her chains. Zero stood beside him, confused, scared, but curious. They walked down the stage together. The crowd watched them, angry, confused, silent. As they reached the exit, one alien whispered, he'll regret this. Another said, he's a dead man. But Cole didn't look back. He kept walking, one hand near his gun. Outside, the night was dark. Neon lights blinked above old buildings. Rain started to fall, light but cold. Zira stopped. Why? She asked. Cole didn't answer at first. Then he looked at her and said, because someone should have helped you. She didn't speak. Her throat was tight. Her hands shook. Cole turned and kept walking. You coming? Zira looked back at the auction hall, then forward. At the strange human who didn't want to own her. She followed him into the dark streets, not knowing where they were going. But for the first time in a long time, she felt something small and quiet inside her. Hope. The sky over Zarnok City burned red above the skyline. 2 moons shined through black smoke. In the streets below, shadows moved quickly, soldiers, bounty hunters, and things that didn't have names. Zero sat inside a broken shuttle, parked in a dark alley. Her arms were wrapped around her knees. Her eyes stared at nothing. For the first time in years, she was not in chains, but she still didn't feel free. Outside the shuttle, Cole was checking his weapon. He moved calmly, like a man who had done this too many times before. His coat was wet from the rain. He wiped it without care. I know you're scared, he said, without turning to her. But if we stay here, we both die. Zero didn't answer. Cole opened a metal box and took out a tiny round device. It glowed red. Tracker, he muttered. It's inside your neck. Zero looked up, alarmed. Her hand moved to her skin, just below her ear. They always put one, she whispered. Cole nodded. I'll take it out. But it'll hurt. She swallowed. Will they find us? They already are. Suddenly, a sharp sound, click. Where it came from outside the alley. Cole grabbed his gun. His body went still. Zero froze. He looked at her, his voice firm but quiet. Stay down. 3 shadows appeared at the alley's mouth. Tall, armed, not human. One of them had glowing blue eyes. He growled, "Give us the girl, human. You can still leave with your life." Cole sighed. "I already bought her. She's property. She's not yours." Cole stepped forward slowly. "She's not property," he said. "She's a person." The aliens raised their weapons. But Cole moved faster. Bang! Bang! One alien dropped. The second was hit in the leg. The third fired back. A red laser flew past Cole's head and hit the shuttle wall. Zero screamed. Ducked. Cole didn't flinch. He charged forward, punched the third alien, and kicked his weapon away. Then he looked back at Zero. "Move, now." They ran through the dark streets, past piles of junk, broken signs, and old machines. Rain hit their faces, mixing with the blood and dirt. Behind them, alarms began to scream. The auction house had sent out a signal. The girl had escaped. With a human dot, every bounty hunter in the city would be looking for them now. After 10 minutes of running, Cole and Zero entered a narrow tunnel under the city. Pipes hissed around them. It smelled like oil and smoke. Cole finally stopped. He turned to Zero. "Now, the tracker." He took out a small tool. "Bite this," he said, handing her a cloth. Zero nodded slowly. She didn't cry. She didn't flinch. She just closed her eyes. ZZZZZTTK. A spark. A scream she didn't mean to let out. Then silence. Cole held a small chip in his fingers. He dropped it and crushed it under his boot. "It's gone." Zero was sweating, shaking. But she looked up at him. "You didn't have to do this," she said. "You don't know me." Cole leaned against the tunnel wall, breathing hard. "I don't need to know you." Zero blinked. "Why?" He looked at her, eyes tired but kind. "Because nobody helped me when I needed it. I remember how that felt." They sat in silence. Above them, sirens screamed louder. More footsteps. The hunt wasn't over. Zero leaned against the wall and whispered, "They'll never stop. Even if you kill 10, 20, they'll send more." Cole looked at her, serious. "Then we make them afraid to try." Zero gave a small smile. Her first real one. It was weak, but real. Cole checked his weapon again. "Come on. We need to leave the city before dawn." She followed, no longer walking behind, but beside him. As they disappeared into the dark, a screen lit up in a bounty hunter's ship nearby. Target, human male. Unknown origin. Companion, Valari, female. Price, 50,000 credits. Dead, or alive. Zero woke to silence. Not screams, not orders. Not chains rattling. Just silence. She opened her eyes. The room was small, made of old metal plates and soft lights. A broken heater clicked nearby. The air smelled like dust, but it was warm. Cole sat on the floor, cleaning a weapon. His coat hung on a hook. His eyes were heavy. He had not slept. Zero touched her neck. The tracker was gone. The pain still there, but different now, less sharp, more real. "Where are we?" she asked softly. Cole looked up. "Storage unit. Outside the city. It's off-grid safe." For now. Zero sat up. The blanket he had given her slipped off her shoulders. She had never had a blanket before. She looked around, nervous. "You stayed awake all night." "I don't sleep much," he said. There was a pause. Then she asked, "Why did you help me?" He didn't answer right away. Instead, he said, "You ever seen Earth?" She shook her head. "It's blue," he said. "Too bright. Too loud. Too many people pretending not to see each other." Zero tilted her head. "And you? Were you like them?" Cole looked at his hands. They were scarred, old cuts running deep across his fingers. "No," he said. "I saw too much." Flashback years ago. Younger Cole stood in a burning village. Screams echoed through the air. Smoke covered the stars. His team had orders. Extract the asset. Leave the locals. Cole had argued. There are kids here. Families. His commander had said, "Not our problem," so they left. He never forgot the faces. Especially one. A child, reaching for him as the ship lifted off. Back to present. Zero watched him. "You lost someone?" she asked. He nodded. "So did I," she whispered. She turned away. Her shoulders stiffened. "I was taken when I was 9. I remember my mother's voice. That was the last thing I had." Cole said nothing. He didn't try to comfort her. He just listened. Zero kept speaking, quietly. "They made us stand in lines. picked us one by one. Some cried, some screamed. I didn't, I thought. Maybe if I stayed quiet, they wouldn't pick me. She smiled, but it was a broken smile. Picked me anyway. Cole put down the weapon. No one should live like that, he said. Zira looked at him, but many do. He nodded, then stood. Come with me. They stepped outside. The sun had not risen yet. The desert sky was full of stars. Cold wind touched their faces. Cole pointed up. You see, that cluster? That's Verisix. Used to be a war zone. Now, it's farmland. People went back. Rebuilt. Zira stared at the stars. Do you think I can go back? To your home? She nodded. He shrugged. I don't know. But I can help you move forward, Zira whispered. I don't even know who I am anymore. You're not what they made you, he said. You're what you choose next. They stood in silence. Inside the unit, a small radio beeped. Cole rushed in. A signal flashed. Bounty increased. High-value target. Human soldier. Possible ties to rebel factions. Zira saw it to Dot. She turned to him. They're after you. Now, he smiled, tired. They always were. Zira stepped closer. I want to learn. He raised an eyebrow. Learn what? How to shoot, how to fight, how to not be afraid. Cole looked at her. Really looked. She wasn't just a victim now. There was fire in her eyes. He nodded. Then we start now. Later, that night Zira sat with a small training pistol. Cole showed her how to hold it, how to breathe. You don't pull the trigger, he said. You press it, like a whisper. Zira smiled for real this time. You talk like a soldier. Cole replied. I used to be. Before I became a mistake. She shook her head. You don't feel like a mistake. He looked at her. Neither do you. Far above them, in the shadows of orbit, a ship locked onto their location. A voice on the comm said, target confirmed. Moving it asterisk. The desert was silent before it screamed. Zira stood outside the safe house just before dawn. The sand was cold under her feet. She watched the sunrise for the first time in years. Real light, not from prison lamps or auction lights. Real sunlight. It made her feel human again. Behind her, Cole cooked something that smelled like burned protein packs. He wasn't good at it, but Zira smiled anyway. You'll never survive in a kitchen, she said. He smirked. I survive in wars, not breakfasts. They both laughed. A quiet, easy sound. It lasted 3 seconds. Then the ground shook. Zira froze. Cole's face changed instantly. No smile now, just instinct. He grabbed his gun. Boom. The side of the storage unit exploded. Sand flew like knives. Metal screamed. The heat wave knocked Zira back. Through the smoke walked hunters. Not just thugs this time. These were professionals. Sharp armor. Laser scopes. Fast steps. And leading them, a woman with silver hair and half a face made of steel. Captain. Drelka, Cole's old enemy. Cole Ryder, she said, her voice like cold glass. Always protecting the wrong people. He raised his weapon. Still hunting little girls, Drelka, she laughed. This one's expensive. I'm not here for justice. I'm here for money. Cole stepped in front of Zira. Then let's make it cost you. Drelka raised a hand. Her team opened fire. Zira ran. Behind cover, heart pounding. Lasers flashed through the air. The smell of burning metal filled her lungs. She peeked out. Cole moved like a ghost. Fast, precise. 2 hunters fell. Then 3. But there were too many. A shot hit Cole in the side. He dropped to one knee. Cole. Zira screamed. He waved. Her back. Don't stop. Run. But she didn't run. She picked up a fallen blaster, hands shaking. Breath short. Remember what he said. Press the trigger like a whisper. She aimed. Pressed. Bang. 1. Hunter dropped. Zira stared at the weapon. At what she had done. Then she moved again, firing, dodging, crawling toward Cole. Drelka saw her. You think you can fight me, girl? You're still just property. Zira looked up, eyes blazing. I don't belong to anyone. She threw a smoke grenade Cole had given her. The field filled with gray fog. Inside the smoke, Cole grabbed her arm. Blood poured from his side. You're learning fast, he said, coughing. She tried to lift him. Save your words. You'll need them when we get out. They stumbled through a hidden path behind the unit. Zira had noticed it the night before, a crack in the rock wall. Now, it was their only way out. Behind them, Drelka shouted, run all you want. I already sent your names to the syndicate. There's nowhere to hide now. An hour later, Zira and Cole collapsed inside an abandoned cargo ship. The engine was dead, but the walls were solid. Zira patched Cole's wound with shaking hands. She had never touched real blood before. It felt warm and terrible. You saved me, he whispered. You taught me how, she replied. He smiled. Weak. You're not a prisoner anymore. Zira, you're a fighter. She held his hand tightly. No, I'm both. That's why they should be afraid of me. Outside, the desert wind howled. Inside, Zira stared into the dark, and didn't blink. The lights on the old space station flickered like stars that had forgotten how to shine. Zira stood at the edge of a wide glass window, staring out into the endless dark. Ships floated in silence outside. Traders, smugglers, forgotten machines. She had never seen space like this before. It didn't feel like a cage. It felt like a beginning. Behind her, Cole slept for the first time in days. His wound was healing, slowly. He looked smaller now, not weaker, just human. Zero turned as footsteps echoed in the hallway. A woman walked in, tall brown skin, metal arm, sharp eyes. Her name was Rin. Cole had called her an old friend, former soldier, now a station mechanic. Maybe something more, once. Rin smiled at Zira. He's still stubborn, huh? Zira smiled back. He pretended he wasn't hurt for 2 whole days. Rin laughed. That sounds like him. There was warmth in her voice. Real warmth. Zero relaxed for the first time in weeks. That night, Rin shared food. Real food. Hot, not from a pack. Spicy stew and soft bread. Zira ate like she hadn't in years. Cole leaned back, watching the 2 women talk. She's changing, Rin said to him. She's stronger than most soldiers I knew, Cole replied. Zero looked between them. You 2 were, close. Rin raised an eyebrow. He saved my life once. I saved his twice. So you know, uneven. Cole chuckled. She's lying. It was only once. Zero laughed. She didn't realize how much she needed to. Later, Zero sat on the roof of the station, helmet on. Watching stars through the clear dome. She whispered to herself. Maybe I can be someone new. Below, in the shadows, Rin activated a silent COM link. Target is here. I'm sending coordinates. Bring credits. She stared up through the dome too, guilt hiding behind her eyes. This is the last time, she said to herself. The next morning, Cole and Zero packed their bags. We'll head toward the rim, Cole said, far from the syndicate's reach. Zero nodded, slipping her new blaster into her coat. But something felt wrong. The station was too quiet, the air too still. She stepped out into the corridor and stopped. At the far end stood 5 armed soldiers. Syndicate armor. Zira spun. Cole, he looked out the window, saw the ship docking. His face fell. She gave us up, he said softly. Zira's eyes burned. Rin, he nodded. Once, I should have known. Gunfire erupted. Zira fired back, leading Cole down a side hall. They reached the lower deck. Cole hacked open a side door. Get out, through maintenance shaft. See, I'll cover you. Zira grabbed his arm. No, not again. I'm not leaving you. He looked at her with fire in his eyes. Then don't. But move fast. They ducked into the shaft, crawling through narrow tunnels. Heat, smoke, sirens. Zira's breath shook. Not from fear, from rage. They reached the outer hatch almost free. Then a voice called out. Going somewhere. Rin stood there, gun in hand. Zira raised hers, hand steady. Rin didn't look cruel. She looked tired. I didn't want to, she said. But the bounty, it's enough to disappear forever. Start clean. You know how rare that is. Cole stepped forward, bleeding again from his side. And what about us? Rin's voice broke. You'll survive. You always do. But Zira didn't lower her gun. You said we were safe, she whispered. Rin hesitated. Zira fired. Rin dropped. Not dead, but out cold. Cole stared at her. Zira's hands shook now. She lied, she said. I believed her. He nodded. That's the price of trust. They left the station, seconds before it was locked down. Final scene. Zira and Cole sit in a small shuttle, flying away. Neither speaks for a long time. Then Zira says, next time, I pull the trigger faster. Cole replies, that's what I'm afraid of. Zira turns her head. Why? He looks at her, quiet. Because I want you to stay. Outside, the stars kept moving. Inside, Zira wasn't sure who she was anymore. But she wasn't a victim. Not anymore. Asterisk. Her name was Miri, and she had stopped counting the days. Inside the pleasure forge, time did not move forward. It just circled, shift to shift, touch to touch, scream to silence. She had not spoken in months. Not until today. Because today, something changed. The guards were whispering. The walls were buzzing. And a new girl had arrived. A Valari. Not afraid, not broken. Just watching. Miri watched her back. Zero had been caught. Again. The chains were tighter now. The guards crueler. The forge colder. But Zero didn't cry. She didn't scream. She listened to the footsteps. The door codes. The guard rotations. The power hum. Cole had taught her how to read a battlefield. Even if this one smelled like perfume and pain. She was not here to survive this time. She was here to burn it down. Above the forge. In orbit, a single black ship floated. Inside. Cole stared at the maps. He had memorized every hallway, every exit, every sensor blind spot. He tapped a screen. 3 hours until power shift. That's our window. Beside him, an old droid clicked. Chance of success. 13%. Cole loaded his gun. Then, I better make it count. Back below, Zero was sent to a client prep room. Soft lights, mirrors, silk. She looked at herself. Then she looked at Miri, who sat quietly in the corner. Wiping a glass. Zero whispered, "How long have you been here?" Miri looked up, eyes hollow. "Too long." Zero leaned closer. "Would you leave, if I could help you?" Miri blinked. "You can't." Zero's voice hardened. "I can. But not alone." 2 hours later, the power flickered. Just once, barely noticeable. But Zero noticed. That was the signal. Cole dropped from orbit like a ghost. The forge had no external weapons. It relied on secrecy, not defense. He crashed into the side vent system, silent and fast. A small EMP cut the surveillance for 3 minutes. That's all he had. Inside, Zero made her move. She attacked the guard during shift change, stole his access chip, locked the prep room door. Meri stared in shock. Zero tossed her a stunned baton. "You're not furniture. You're a fighter." Miri didn't move. Zero grabbed her hand. "They took everything from us. Let's take it back." Finally, Miri nodded. Cole reached the main cell wing. Dozens of prisoners. Alien women. Children. Some barely awake. He shot the locks. "You're free." They stared at him like he was a dream. "I'm not staying," he said. "But you are leaving. Get to the hangar. Follow the red lights." He tossed weapons to the stronger ones. The hallway began to buzz. Security was coming. Zero and Miri stormed. The control room. Zero smashed the alarm switch. Code 3. The console blinked. Facility lockdown failed. Zero grinned. "Good." She grabbed the mic. Broadcasted through every room. "This is not a home. This is not a business. This is a cage. And it ends tonight." Her voice echoed through walls. All over the forge. Prisoners looked up. Some cried. Some stood. Some fought. Cole met Zero near the energy core. Blood on his arm. Smoke behind him. "You're late," she said. "You started without me," he replied. They looked around. The forge was on fire. Screams, alarms, crashing metal. Zero turned to Miri, and others now holding weapons. "You can run, or you can help finish it." Miri raised her baton. "Let's finish it." One last hallway. One last guard squad. Cole and Zero fought side by side. Fast, brutal, silent. No mercy. Zero didn't hesitate now. When it was over, she looked at Cole. He nodded. "They'll send more." Zero whispered. "Let them." As the escape ship rose from the burning forge, dozens of freed prisoners looked back. For once, they were not leaving behind hope. They were carrying it with them. The doors slid open with a whisper, not a roar. Inside the dark chamber, the smell of expensive spice floated in the air. Fake comfort in a room, full of power and secrets. Zero stepped inside. She wore no chains, no collar, no fear. On the other side of the room sat Lord Vesk, the alien who once tried to buy her at the auction for pleasure, for property, for control. He didn't recognize her at first. She looked different now, standing tall, eyes steady, a weapon on her hip, a fire in her bones. "You," he said slowly, voice like rotting velvet. "You were the Valari girl from Zarnak." Zero didn't blink. "You remembered me," she said. "I never forgot you." 10 hours earlier, the forge survivors landed on a hidden moonbase. Medical help, food, blankets, clean clothes, silence. But Zero couldn't rest. Not until she ended it. Cole had watched her quietly as she geared up. "Where are you going?" "Back to the beginning," she said. "To the one who started it all. You don't owe him anything." "I don't," Zero replied. "That's the point. Now, Back in Vesk's lair, the old lord stood. "You're brave to come here alone," he said, stepping closer. Zero didn't move. "I'm not here for a fight." He laughed. "No. Then what? Revenge, tears, mercy." "I'm here," she said, "to make sure you remember what it feels like to have no power." His eyes narrowed. "What do you want?" She walked to his desk, tapped it once. A tiny device blinked, broadcasting your name, your location, your crimes. Vesk's face changed. "You wouldn't dare." Zero smiled. "I already did." Far above, Cole listened from the ship. The signal was clean. The galaxy would hear everything. Slavery rings, client lists, market names, Vesk's entire empire. Zero didn't need to kill him. She'd do something worse. Make him seen. Vesk charged at her, sudden and furious. But Zero stepped aside, calm, ready. She pinned him with one strike, held him there. "Do it," he spat. "Kill me." She looked into his eyes. "No." He froze. "Why?" "Because I get to choose," she whispered. "And you don't matter enough to hate." She stood, walked away. Vesk screamed behind her, not in pain, but in powerlessness. The same scream she had once buried inside herself. Hours later, aboard the ship, Cole handed her a warm drink. She didn't take it. She just looked at the stars. "They're going to hunt us," he said. "They always do," she replied. He studied her face. "You okay?" Zero nodded. "No, but I will be." She looked around the ship, at the survivors, at Miri, at the people who followed her now. "What happens next?" Cole asked. Zero smiled softly. "We make sure no one ever feels like we did." Zero stood on the bridge, a beacon signal lighting. Up the screen it read, "If you are lost, if you are afraid, if they told you that you are nothing, we are coming. You are not alone." The message repeated, across space. And somewhere, in another dark room, another girl heard it, and for the first time she hoped.